All right, I'm going to record a video. This is going on YouTube, and it's going to be about. Uh, we're going to chat a little politics. So I watched the debate, and I watched it actually hanging out in a Twitch channel with some lefties that I watch their channel on occasion. And usually it's pretty fun, even though I would estimate the average IQ of the other people watching this Twitch stream, uh, not counting myself, is probably about 80. Again, and some of them are just horrible people. But the majority of them, and the host, and he had his brother on, and they're decent enough people, I think. And I do enjoy his channel. I mean, I can't lie, it's weird. It's like watching a car wreck in a way, you know? I mean, the guy's a nice guy. I always say that. He's a nice guy. And even though I know every single thing he's saying is just wrong, I still, maybe, look, maybe I'm the one that's got a problem. I still log in and listen to this guy. And he does his best, I think, for the most part, and it's Son Soul. So if you're ever on Twitch or on Discord and you're a lefty and you kind of like listening to leftists masturbate one another about talking points that have been proven wrong a million times, ad nauseum, this could be your guy. And if you do go there, tell him Constantine sent you. You know? And if you're far right and you do go there, just have some respect. I mean, that would be my request. See, the problem with the debate tonight, and it was really funny watching a lot of the lefties, hooping and hollering and high-fiving every time Joe said something. And he did get some stabs in, for sure. And Trump really should not have been so about interrupting all the time. It wasn't necessarily a great look, and he shouldn't have done it. However, now I'm going to go ahead and be a Trump apologist for a second. I can kind of understand his frustration when you consider he's been the president for, a bit over 3 years, and he has been constantly attacked, lied about, defamed, slandered, what have you, by most of the media, up to and including Fox News on occasion. I mean, what's weird is the guys on the left, when you listen to them, they seem to believe that Fox News is some kind of haven of right-wing Trumpism or something like that. And it's not. Half of the people on Fox News despise Trump, and they do. Now, I don't know if there is an actual, right-wing news channel, but it is certainly not Fox News. And the latest kerfluffle with Newt Gingrich proves that beyond a shadow of a doubt. You can't really consider yourself a conservative news group, or a news group at all, if you will straight up tell guests that they're just not allowed to talk about some things, especially when the things they're not allowed to talk about are things everyone with an operational frontal cortex knows is a fact. Yes, I did just lick the brush, even though I'm doing a little bit of dry brushing. Getting the brush just slightly damp can sometimes give you just a bit smoother of a look on those big flat panels. And for those who are interested, I am painting I think this model was made by Italeri. It is a Panzer III J. off J or whatever. I mean, I don't speak German, so. But it's a pretty decent tank in the old action and chain of command games. And the model kit was relatively cheap. And it's a cool little model, man. I like it. And I'm throwing it. This is, of course, an early mid-war paint scheme that I forget what they call it, ambush gray or whatever. And I'm trying to make up my mind whether I want to go ahead and do white, like winter. But regardless of that, so Biden come out swinging, and he looked a lot better than I expected. I really thought this debate was going to be tantamount to elder abuse. Honestly, I thought Trump was just going to crush the guy, and he didn't. Trump come off looking, I don't know, the word they used was desperate. I'm not going to say desperate, but he was very bombastic. He just seemed pissed, you know. And I don't think it was good look. But at the end of the day, Biden really offered no plan to do anything. Trump didn't really offer too much of a plan to do anything. But he's the incumbent, so you can go ahead and assume he's just going to keep doing what he's doing. And if you like that, right. I don't think anyone who's a Trump supporter changed their mind tonight. And that was something a lot of these guys in this leftist channel, they were like, oh, you know, Trump. No one who's a hardcore Trump supporter gives a damn about this debate. I guarantee you half of them didn't watch. But I will point out a couple things that were a little, I guess, on the nose with these guys. One, they are way obsessed with race, like non-stop. You know, and what's funny is there was 3 hosts and they had a couple of people on to speak. And again, these are nice guys. Don't go there hating on them or anything like that. Completely disavowed. But these are some of the whitest people you ever saw. They're white. They're the sons of a Protestant pastor, which means they really probably have no idea what the Bible says or means. And I'm sorry, I know that's a stab against my Protestant brothers, but it is what it is. They're middle class at least, relatively educated. One of them's a teacher, which is kind of sad. And the other one, I know he's going to college for something. So these are your typical leftists, your typical, as the Chinese call them, white left. They're middle class, educated people, white people, who are for some reason just obsessed with self-flagellation, self-guilt, self-loathing, and race politics. They buy into critical theory, which in my opinion is garbage. They're convinced that we live in a systemically racist country, despite the fact that, and you know, they keep changing definitions, so systemic racism can mean whatever you need it to mean in any particular situation with these people. But there is not a single law in the book that favors a white person over a non-white person. Well, there are many laws on the book that actively favor minorities over white people. Affirmative action is a big one, which I'm not even saying I'm opposed to. I'm just saying, if you really want to talk about systemic racism, we live in a country where white people pretend to be minorities because there's an advantage in that. And I'm not even talking about Warren. With her, I'm, 1,000 something Cherokee. You run into fake Cherokees all the time. I've pointed that out. But I'm talking about that, I forget her name, but she is just as white as the pure driven snow. And she pretended to be black so she could get a job with the NAACP or something like that. And you had a latest one. I could Google all this crap, but if you don't believe me, Google it. That did the same thing, pretended to be black. And then you've got Talcum X, who's all about blackness, but that dude's as white as I am. So we live in a country where supposedly systemic racism is the greatest existential threat that humanity faces But there's actual economic and societal benefit and clout in not being white. So they're super obsessed with that. They're super obsessed with sexuality, which are things I would prefer not to be involved in my politics. So there's that whole thing. And of course, it's like, yeah, um, let me get my thoughts together. It is 1 a.m. Trump didn't look good. He made some points, though. I mean, because he didn't look good and he come off as angry and bombastic does not necessarily mean what he was saying was wrong. I would have liked for him to come out and been the smarmy, cocksure kind of, troll that he can be. I think that would have been better. Instead, he just came out and he looked exasperated. He looked pissed. He looked like he'd rather be anywhere else than on that stage. And Joe Biden, I don't know if they gave him a shot, put a little meth in him or something. That's just all conjecture. I don't think that really happened. But the dude was actually awake. And he did, toward the end, he did say something pretty classy about how we need to pull together as Americans, yada, yada, yada. Even though we know he doesn't actually, I know he doesn't actually mean that. He doesn't. If he actually meant that, then he wouldn't support BLM. He wouldn't, refuse to disavow the rioting and all this stuff, which he does and did tonight. He refused to disavow it. And that's unfortunate. So, do I think he won the debate? No. As a matter of fact, I think I lost the debate. Because not only did I have to watch that, and it was a dumpster fire going on stage. Okay, winner of the debate, Trump, because his wife is hotter than Biden's. There you go. Boom. Hammer down. No, but really, and then watching the leftists in the chat, because is hilarious. One, I'm pretty sure I'm 20 years older than anyone in this chat. I'm pretty sure. I'd be surprised to find out I'm not. I'm almost 100% sure I'm the only Eastern Orthodox Christian in the chat. Now, granted, there weren't too many guys there. Tonight, I think there was 20, which is still, pretty good. But I may be one of the few people in the chat that is married. I know I'm not one of the few people in the chat that's white, though. They're all white. Every damn one of them. And that's what's hilarious about the modern left is, again, they're obsessed about minority issues while at the same time all being white. If there was one thing that happened that I think showcases, there's a lot of things that happen that showcase the hypocrisy of the left, and not just Biden, running his mouth about how he's going to fix everything. He's had 48 years to fix things. And my voting, and I've told these guys that, and, I know they disagree, but at least they're cool enough to let me have my opinion. I would rather vote for the guy who's been in politics fucking things up, excuse my language, messing things up for the last 3 years, than vote for the guy that's been in politics messing things up for the last 48. Now, I really wish they'd ran Rand Paul. I like Rand Paul. He seems like a decent, moderate kind of guy, right? More libertarian leaning. At this point, I kind of wish they would just put out like a lottery and just pick 2 people off the street and run them. I mean, maybe they should just do that. Maybe instead of electing your Senate and congressmen, they should just randomly select people to serve a 2-year sentence. I know this is lunacy, but at this point, is it lunacy compared to the system we have? Right? Biden yells at Trump because of Trump's taxes. Trump points out that Biden was in office when they created all the loopholes that allowed Trump to not pay as much taxes as maybe some people feel like he should. Me, I'm a flat tax guy, consumption tax all the way. But there are people who argue against that, and I think they're completely wrong, but they're allowed to their opinion. If you don't buy anything, don't pay taxes. I am against income tax and I am against property tax. 100%. But I would support a 35% consumption tax on all goods except for things that would be declared. Now, there's a guy out there, Bort, I think his name is. He wrote a whole book about this. You would have, I need to stop stammering. I'm sounding like Sleepy Joe over here with all the ahs, and no, what you would have is you would still have certain foods and things like that that would be considered essentials, and there would be no tax on that. So poor people would not get wrecked by this tax system. Unprepared food would not be taxed. Uh, Things like that. Yeah, you know. So if you needed to go to the store and buy a sack of rice, potatoes, some hamburger meat, maybe a pack of bologna, whatever, and I'm naming stuff on my shopping list, so don't think I'm trying to be, put on airs. These are things I buy. These things would not be taxed. However, candy bars, Coke, soft drinks, and things like that, prepared foods, luxury items, these things would be taxed. The argument, of course, some people make is it's unfair to the poor, but think about this, right? Every time Trump or any billionaire buys a $100 million yacht, if he was forced to pay 35 or 40% consumption tax on that yacht, that would rake in a ton of money. And then the other thing, the best thing, is it would allow those of us, not including me, because I'm a consumer and I buy a ton of miniatures and stuff for games, but it would allow those of us in our country who are frugal and self sufficient and don't just run around buying everything willy nilly to pay zero taxes. I think that would be awesome. Our current system, the whole reason income tax was instituted is it allows for war. Some people might disagree, but, and I'll keep this super short because we're talking about a couple of different things. The government needs income tax so they have a budget so they can plan for military spending for the next year. This is not a conspiracy. This is really what it is. Because most of your local stuff, your roads and street signs and stuff like that, that's paid for by the state. And I fortunately live in a state that has a relatively high sales tax, no state income tax, and we use state money, state income tax money, to pay for infrastructure. But if the state doesn't have a guaranteed income, it automatically shrinks the state. You can't build a state without knowing you can pay for it. It is my point. So the monster at Jekyll Island, the introduction of income tax, that has led to the increase of state power exponentially and will continue to do so. Neither candidate has any plan whatsoever of changing that. And that is the thing you have to understand. Am I a Trump supporter? To a degree. Will I ever vote for Biden? No way in hell. Why? Well, I mean, are they both evil men? To a degree, yeah. They're both evil men to a degree. I'm an evil man to a degree, but not as much as they are. But Biden's more evil in my opinion. This guy's a I mean, the leftists are like, oh, I hate billionaires. But what's the difference between a billionaire and a millionaire when you really get down to it? And I don't mean a guy with $2 million, worth of assets or anything like that, because that's not Biden. Once you get past a certain limit, does it really matter? When you compare it to me, me and my wife are doing okay, mainly because we made some pretty good decisions in the past. And at least my wife is a very hard worker. Very intelligent, very hard worker. I'm retired. Not through my own wishes, but it is what it is. But you're looking at a guy who's held government positions for 40 something years at around 100, 150,000 a year. and somehow he's a multimillionaire. And, I guess he made good investments. It's possible. Before we get into any weird thing with Ukraine, China, any of that stuff, I mean, there's a place for that. And I think when Trump brought it up, I don't think he's wrong. I just think the way he went about it was not very professional. And so I didn't like that. But what I do think is corruption should be rooted out. Absolutely. At all levels. From the local dog catcher in the small town, middle of America, all the way up to the highest office. Corruption should be rooted out, and it's not being done. This is why you have the Clintons. This is why you have Kerry, Romney, Biden, Hunter Biden. You had McCain in there messing things up for 40 damn years. You got all these guys, up to and including Trump. I mean, in theory, I'm not sure, but Obama, who we know broke the law at least a dozen times, none of these people were ever punished. So the flaw isn't between, do you vote Biden, who is a train wreck and will not be your president. If you vote Biden, you're actually voting Harris. So just so you know, and if you're good with that, more power to you, man. I hope you go pull that lever, and I hope you're happy with whatever happens. I really do. The day after the election, no matter who wins, I will get back to hanging out with my friends, painting miniatures, and doing what I need to do. That's what you do in a civilized country. I suppose I could join a group and I could be out on the streets burning stuff down and attacking cops and things like that, but you don't do that in a civilized country. You go, you vote, and then you deal with it, which is something the Democrats have not managed to do in 3 years. They've been trying to take Trump out since he won the election. And I think that's the biggest issue here. And I think that's why this debate was so much of a damn trash fire and I blame the Democrats, 100%. I blame the left and I blame the media. Had they just let Trump be president and not went out of their way to blatantly lie and slander this guy for 3 years, a lot of the hardcore Trump supporters would have walked away from him by now. But when you see your guy constantly attacked, man, constantly attacked, human nature is to circle the wagons. That's why I'm saying this debate changed no one's mind. Everyone who watched it already knew who they were going to vote for. Nothing is changing. The media has went after Trump so hard over so many stupid things that ultimately they are making a martyr out of him. They could have just let him fail or succeed, which would have been even better for everyone. There is that too. Whatever happened to he's the president, so let's all kick back and hope he does the right thing, and maybe it'll be good for everybody, right? But that's gone now, things have become so tribal that, and I've said this before on one of my political rants, things have become so tribal that I fear there's no room for peace in the grand scheme. They want Trump to disavow the white supremacists. Well, who are the white supremacists? According to the leftists in the room, Patriot Prayer and the Proud Boys are the white supremacists, which is really weird because every time I see either of those on TV, I don't know any of them personally, or I've never seen them or been where they are, but there's always like black dudes there. But that's this weird thing on the left where you can be a minority and still be a white supremacist. It makes no sense, like you can be a white guy married to a black chick and still be a white supremacist somehow. Whatever. So pretty much any organization or militia that isn't Antifa or BLM is by default, according to these people, many of them, I keep painting with a broad brush. There's a few of them that don't agree with this, I know for a fact, white supremacists. But then again, why are we so concerned with white supremacism? When's the last time anyone ever got lynched? Right? That's some shit that happened like in the 60s and 70s. That's 50 years ago, right? There might have been one or two cases here and there. But the fact of the matter is, there is no way, and I brought this up tonight, like, can racism be fixed? And the answer is no. Racism can never be fixed. There will always be some people who are racist. And that's just what it is. So unless you want to set up a camp and anyone that's racist, you're going to go ahead and exterminate or lobotomize to remove them from society, you will never get rid of hatred. There will always be hatred. And racism is not the province of any particular ethnic group either. This idea that only white people can be racist is absolute bullshit. It was invented, again, by Marxist professors to excuse bad behavior by radicals and revolutionaries. So somehow in the United States, a black person who actively wakes up one day, well, let's hope we all actively wake up, but a black person who wakes up and decides to grab a knife or a gun and go out and actively hunt white people, specifically to kill them, specifically because of their skin color, is not a racist. But a white guy who calls someone the N-word is. So until you fix that problem, you're not going to fix any of the bigger problems. Until you stop focusing on the meaningless things about people, like their race, you're not going to fix the big issues. And that is what it is. So yeah, I've talked about a lot of things. Oh, this is my Seth Skorkowski shirt. He is a streamer on YouTube who talks about games. Seth Skorkowski. He's awesome. He's so awesome. I bought one of his shirts. And that's him in different disguises on it. Guy's badass. I like him. He might hate my guts. I don't know what his personal opinion on politics or anything is. But I like him, and he does good videos that I could only hope to one day, match the quality of. That said, no, I'm going to go back and finish it up. I want to keep this relatively short. The left is obsessed with race and sexuality, which I think, speaking for me, is a turnoff. I don't care about your race, and I don't care about your sexuality, and I don't want to know about your sexuality. That's, the joke. How do you know someone's gay, trans, lesbian, LGBT, or anything? They'll tell you as soon as you meet them. And I don't care, and I would rather not know. The race issue, of course, you can't hide that. I mean, when I walk up to you. But I think the goal is to just treat people good. And Biden never has. That's really where I walk away from this. And like I said, the leftists, they were freaking out and whooping and hollering and acting incredulous and to laugh and, oh my God, he's such a liar and this guy's and you go this. And it's like, really, guys? Useful idiots, everyone. When I pull the lever for the candidate I pull the lever for, it will be because I have no choice. One candidate is a flawed individual, and the other candidate is an apostate who claims to be Catholic and working class, but is a multimillionaire who supports everything that Catholicism stands against. And like I said, 48 years in government, man. 48 years. That is longer than I have been alive. And this guy, now he's going to fix things? You could literally grab some guy off the street and I would vote for him. Just a random guy. And I would vote for him before I'd vote for Biden. Anyone who votes for Biden is just stupid, in my opinion. You're talking about a guy with a long, almost 5-decade-long history of failure. And that's the guy you're going to vote for. And if you feel like you have to because it's better than Trump, okay, I understand that, but that's where we are. That is our political system. Jeez. And that is why 90% of the time, when I make these little things, I listen to metal, little rock, maybe some 60s, 70s new age, or not new age, new wave. I paint some BattleTech figures, right? Paint some Otherworld figures for D&D, crank out some 40K stuff, because politics sucks balls. And I don't understand these guys that want to focus on it. I mean, can you imagine your entire online presence being about politics? I swear to God, that would be me. If I had to watch politics and ugh, the goy I'm what? The goy I'm now. Why is this guy spamming my? Hey, homie. That's not really cool, man. Let's see. Weird. I mean, when you come out like that, hello. Yeah, I had to ban that guy. The goy I'm anyway. Yeah, so I'm pretty much going in this video as far as recording it, or the recording, which will go on YouTube, and then I'll sit here and do a little painting. But jeez, yeah, this political debate tonight was trash. It was a freaking trash fire. Oh my god! And hanging out with the leftists, watching it was just. It was like being in the zoo and hanging out in the monkey house and watching them fling poop. Anyway, I'm going to paint some figures. Let's go ahead and end that recording.